Welcome to the Mindful Nomad podcast. I'm your host, Miguel Gutierrez. This podcast is an exploration into the world of creatives, community leaders, and entrepreneurs, taking a deep dive into their lives, focusing strongly on lifestyle, spirituality, mental health, and education. So grab a seat, relax, and join me for this exciting journey through conversations with other mindful nomads. This was previously recorded for the podcast Travel Cuts and Consciousness, but I've decided to keep it on a playlist as it still aligns well with the Mindful Nomads podcast. Enjoy. So, welcome to a brand new episode of Travel Cuts and Consciousness. I'd like to introduce you to our guest today, Kevin Luchmun. I first started speaking to Kevin via Instagram in the early days of Barbering coming back in 2013, and I was planning my travels. I met him in London the following year. Kevin is an award-winning London-based barber, men's hairstylist and photographer coming from nearby Kent. Having helped build the men's division of Tony & Guy and just recently as a global ambassador for Panasonic, Kevin holds a wealth of experience within the industry, and I'm really happy to finally sit down with him during this isolation period. We've never actually just done this and just talked about this. So, Kevin, do you want to add anything to what I've just said?
No, I mean, to be honest, you've more or less introduced me in a nutshell. So yes, thank you for having me on board, and thank you for having me on your podcast.
That's awesome.
It's been a long time coming, isn't it?
Long time coming. I was kind of harassing you. You're one of the first people I started harassing, and the idea was obviously I really wanted to get people in the studio space and record everyone face to face, but it just become a logistical nightmare. So now I've moved on to using this period to doing it over the phone, using a proper mic though.
Yeah, but I mean, that's good though, because, if you think about what's happening, everything's digital now, and it's so great that we can still be very connected, even though this situation right now is pretty crazy, and it's pretty wild, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to even get your head around it, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've all been sent back to I don't know, how many decades ago?
Yeah,
the dark ages.
Pretty crazy, literally.
Yeah.
It's like I remember talking to a friend, it was crazy. I remember when they started to get people to queue to go into supermarkets, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm queuing to go in a nightclub. I feel like I'm 16 again, waiting outside when it was raining, trying to queue to get in. And you've got the person in the doorman letting people in and out. It's just crazy,
It's funny.
Crazy times.
The security guards at the supermarkets look like they've taken on a bit more responsibility. They're they're shoulders back. They're like, yeah, you can go in, mate.
Yeah.
Next
exactly.
one. Oh, two more.
Yeah. Whoa. Stop. No, you gotta wait. No, it's crazy. It is crazy.
Anyway, back to the podcast. I've got to start with the generic questions because, a lot of people obviously know you within the industry, but then a lot of listeners to this podcast might not know you through my YouTube channel who aren't actually barbers or hairdressers. So how did you start your career?
Okay, so like you said, it's a question that I get asked a lot. Now, I've been in the industry for 18 years. And I started when I was 17. I was at college. I was studying travel and tourism, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, with my life. Didn't know what I wanted to do with my career. And I've always had a shaven head, so I had a pair of clippers. And one of my friends basically wanted his hair cut. From that, started cutting his hair. Then I started cutting my other friend's hair. And then 18 years later, I'm sitting at home in lockdown, waiting to cut some hair. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, if I think about 18 years ago when I first started, I never imagined to be doing what I'm doing now. Obviously not right now present, but obviously the whole traveling, the doing the shows, the seminars, meeting people. And it's been an amazing journey. And it's one of them ones that, as the years go by, something new happens, something new, different happens. And, it's great. It's always changing.
But what was it that kind of first drew you to the industry? Or maybe not the industry, but was it just a bit of money,
I guess probably, when I first started cutting hair, it was just a case that I was cutting my friend's hair. And I wouldn't charge them, but then what I would do is, I'd go on nights out and they'd buy me drinks and, I don't know, get free lifts and free rides wherever I need to go to. So kind of got to the stage where I was like, this is pretty cool. I can kind of like cut someone's hair. I enjoyed doing it and get a favor from them. And then, I started cutting my other friend's hair. And then this girl that I knew, she was a barber. And then she said, why don't you come into this barber shop in Maidstone where I'm from and start working there? So I was like, okay, cool. Tried it out. And then that's kind of probably when I realized what the industry was like, in the sense that you could make a lot of money quickly in a short period of time. So the barber shop, they would charge me like rent a day. So like I think back then was probably like about £40 or £50 to rent the chair. And then basically however many haircuts you cut, then obviously you just make your money that way. So I'd always go there at like 7 a.m. and then finish at like 6 p.m. at night and then just have a wad of cash. Do you know what I mean? So I suppose, yeah, you're probably right saying that the money attracted me first. And then like anything, started going to like salon international shows, start to understand a bit more about the industry. And then, from doing that, I suppose the passion started to come out, and the creativity started to come out, because then going to salon internationals, going to the shows, seeing the competitions, then you start to realize that there's a lot more to than just cutting hair behind the chair.
I think I was just in a similar mindset. I mean, when I first started cutting, I was very adamant to be getting. I mean, I worked on a salary, so I was adamant to be making X amount, as much as like the barbers who've been there for years, quite quickly. And then quite quickly, I had a wad of cash every weekend. I was the lad. I was like, yeah, buy all the drinks, do this, do that.
Yeah.
But then it's like,
exactly.
well, what next?
Yeah, precisely that. And that's the thing. I guess it's like, I've got to admit, like when I started when I was 17, my mindset, I mean, I'm sure it's the same like everyone. It's like, your mindset when you're that young is so different to what it's like when you become an adult. And even if I remember like in my mid 20s, like my mindset then compared to what it is now, and I'm in my mid 30s, it's completely different, and it's, we start to, work out and realize what's important and what's not important. And back then when I was young, it was about like, oh yeah, I got all this money, let me go. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, I remember like going shopping and I'll be like, right, I want to go and get my new Patrick Cox shoes and like my new Gucci shoes and just pay with it with cash. And what was it, like my Avisu jeans and like, what I mean? Stuff like that, like I'm talking like old school stuff. And it's like, it's crazy like how different things are now compared to.
So you cut off then. What did you say?
It's very different to what it was like back then to what it's like, obviously, what it's like now.
Yeah. They're very different. Back then, you don't really know what you're doing with your money apart from going out and getting pissed and
literally
getting Lexus lights on your car. Your Renault Clio.
Mate, I tell you what, I used to have a Ford. I remember this. I had a Ford Fiesta, which was my first car. I had like 3 subs in the back. I had the 6x9s in the partial shelves. I remember when I used to mess around with my mates, and the glove compartment, we basically drilled sawed out like a little hole and we put like a TV. And that's back then when it was like, I put my DVD player like in the glove compartment. It was just madness. Load it right down. So it's like I'd get to a speed bump and have to go so slow, and some speed bumps I'd have to go at a slight diagonal in order so I didn't scrape underneath. So
in a Fiesta.
Yeah, in a Ford Fiesta. Crazy, man.
I had these 20-inch alloys.
And it was like 1.2, and I put like this massive exhaust thinking it was so fast.
I had like 20-inch alloys or something on a Clio, and like when you turned around corners, they screeched and like
yeah, on the arches, isn't it?
Yeah, they just weren't meant for that car whatsoever. It's so funny.
It's crazy. Now it's like, just want to get a van. That's what I want.
I want a van. I want to go on a hike. I want to get a dog. Live as far away from people as possible.
Yeah. Don't want to socialize with anyone. Yeah, it's crazy.
At the start of your career, did you have any kind of positive role models in your family or anyone who pushed you in the direction of hair? Or did you have any people trying to talk you out of it?
I didn't have anyone talk me out of it. I had like my parents, like both my parents, like they're retired now, but they were both psychiatric nurses. So nothing to do with the industry. None of my family are hairdressers or barbers. I suppose I get my creativity from my mum. She was always into like her cooking, her baking, drawing, painting, that sort of stuff. And she still does it now, just as a hobby. None of my friends, like none of my close friends from back home and who I went to school with became hairdressers or barbers, not that I know of. I wouldn't say I had people talk me out of it, but I had a lot of my friends like, why are you going to be a hairdresser? Especially, why are you going to go and cut hair? Like, why don't you just go and get a job in a retail? Because, barbering and hairdressing back then was totally different to what it's like now. And that, I look at pictures. I've got some old pictures of me when I was at Salon International cutting hair, like on stage, 2007. And I remember how different it was back then to what it's like now if you go to Salon International, which for any of the guys that don't know what Salon International is, it's a big exhibition show held in London. You get lots of exhibitors, you get lots of like different brands go there. Obviously yourself, you've got like a massive stage there with lights and, fireworks and fire.
Yeah, that's me. That's what I had this year. Yeah.
But, no one talked me out of it. No one encouraged me. I didn't really have any role models there because back then to how it is now, if we look at a lot of people, they can get like people that are new to the industry, they can get so much inspiration from people. They can be inspired from people that travel like yourself. You go and meet different people, go and see different barbershops. They can be inspired from people that are doing creative work through magazines and fashion stuff, fashion shows. Back then it was just very much cut hair behind a chair, a little bit of education, not as much as what it is now. But I suppose it was all about the bigger brands back in, sort of the mid 2000s.
I mean, yeah, but my first experience in Salon International was probably like 2009. Because obviously I didn't move down to London until then. And yeah, you didn't really have much for men's hair. There was a couple of stages.
Yeah.
Wall was the big one.
Yeah. I remember, Wall was the big one. Like like back then, that's when I was actually working alongside a guy called MK, and he used to work for Andis. And when I used to do stuff with him in Salon International, it would be on the Andis stage. But this is when Andis was part of Denman. So they had like a small section, there wasn't as big as what they are now. They didn't have as many clippers and trimmers. And yeah, you're right. It was predominantly dominated by hairdressers,
And we obviously started speaking around this time, but you were at the start of the reprisal of Barbering 2013, 2012. And you were working in a salon at that point. Why did you decide to move into the more creative work in the first place?
So when I first started, probably after about 4 years into barbering, I basically just wanted to learn a bit more about hair. I wanted to learn how to cut longer lengths of hair. I wanted to learn how to style hair. Wanted to learn about hair up, just because I suppose going to Salon Internationals, going to Salon International show, there was so much creativity to see. And I just thought, there's a lot more bigger brands out there that are doing amazing work. And that's obviously when I saw Tony and Guy, saw the work that they was doing. And at Salon International, they'd always have the biggest stages. They'd always have the best models. They'd always have the best music. And I just thought, I want to be a part of something big like that.
I want this.
Yeah, I want this.
Give it to me.
So yeah, I was like, give it to me now. So I remember, researching about Tony and Guy. I saw there was a Tony and Guy in my hometown, got the job there. Then I was with them for about maybe 5 years until I decided to move from Maidstone to London. And that's when I decided to start with Tony and Guy in Covent Garden. And then that's when I realized how big the industry really was and how much people wanted to make it to the top. When I first started in London, that's when I realized that I was actually like a very, very small fish in a very, very big pond. So, that's when I really just thought to myself, right, I need to work hard. I need to really push the boundaries. And then I suppose this is like 2011. Then I started to get a few links from people, start to do collaborations with photographers and stylists. And then, at the peak of my career, I'd say when things really start to take off was around sort of like the 2013 mark, which is when I entered the British Hairdressing Awards and then ended up winning it that year in 2013. So it was the first time that I entered the awards. For anyone that doesn't know what the British Hairdressing Awards is, it's probably the best hairdressing competition in the world. You know, it's a great foundation if you become a finalist or if you win it to really get known within the industry. So, you know, it was all new to me, but I decided to enter it. And then Tony and Guy didn't give me a budget. You know, they very much will give the budgets to do the shoots for like the art directors. And back then I wasn't an art director. So through all my links, through exchanging favors, for giving free haircuts, you know, I collaborated models, collaborated photographers, stylists, shot the collection. And then, I got through to the finalist. And then that's when Tony and Guy was like, oh, you know, like, who's this person? And then when I won it, that's really when everything started changing within the company. You know, back in 2014, that's when they started getting me to teach in the academy, and then started to do the campaign, started to do the collection haircuts, you know, and then obviously eventually started to head up the men's course in the academy. And then, just kept consistent, you know.
What? So 2013 you were finalist and 2014 you won? Is that right?
No, so it was a finalist in 2013 and then won it in 2013. So you have to become finalist first and then obviously you will win it.
But it's gone fast when I think about it. 2013 was when I went traveling the first time.
Mate, it's going so fast because I remember back in 2013 and it was back in 2013. I remember I went to the Barber Connect show when it was in Wales. And again, that's another exhibition. And I remember seeing Matthew Bartham, who used to be one of the editors for Hairdressers Journal Men. And he didn't know who it was, but I introduced him, like myself, to him. You know, I said, I'd love to get some work in there. And then, like literally, like, it's crazy how much things changed very rapidly. But, you know, a lot of people always ask me the question, you know, like, you know, how did you win it? You know, what have I got to do to win? And I was like, it's not actually winning that keeps you relevant. It's keeping consistent and bringing out new things and doing new things that's going to keep you relevant, you know, because the thing is, I mean, you know about this industry is like you can be so hot and, you know, top of your game, and then all of a sudden you drop off the radar, you know, and it's...
What are you pinpointing me for that?
No. You're always consistent. You're always doing stuff. Just takes you about a couple of years to like get your ass into gear. But this is the thing, you know, we live busy lives, and, you know, a lot of people you know, they see all the stuff we're doing. They see us traveling, but, you know, there's so much more to an individual outside of just doing hair, you know. It's like, you know, I've got a kid, you know, I've got like, you know, a family to provide for, you know, I'm working on my business. I don't have any other people work for me. You know, there's so many other things that always gets in the way, you know, and I think as creative people, we'll always have things that we want to do, and we'll always have things that we want to work towards doing. And it's difficult. Like, it's so difficult.
Hard. People only get to see the end product no matter what. And people can only judge you on that end product too. So they might go, oh, yeah, that shoot's great. Kev makes it look so easy, but actually you've been planning this shoot for months. You know, you put a lot of effort into it.
Well, this is what I mean. You know, a lot of people, you know, last year, around March last year, I launched my educational platform, which, you know, I rebranded. I shot 12 different tutorials, and I've done all the imagery for it. But then people are like, oh, yeah, that's amazing. You know, like, oh, your content's great. But even though I launched it back in 2019 in the March, I actually shot it in the July of 2018. So there was like such a whole prep for it, because even before shooting it, you know, I spent probably about the best part of 7-8 months planning it. You know, that's deciding what am I going to do? How's the clothes going to look? How am I going to shoot it? How am I going to, you know what I mean? There's so much. It's the same with you. It's like, you know, this podcast, people are going to see the end product, but they don't understand that, like, last night we was checking sound, we was checking the visuals to make sure it was all right. And then after this, then you're going to have to start to edit it. You're going to have to cut bits out. You're going to have to like, color grade your imagery and whatever else, there's so much more to just the final end product. And sometimes I do find that people don't appreciate how much work really goes into it. It's like, all right, cool. You think it's sick. You think it's amazing, but like, a lot of work's gone into it. And
appreciate me.
Yeah. But then that's not even to mention the hours that's gone into you researching on how to do something.
This is, even the setup now, like we said, we were testing last night. I had never done this type of call before, so I'm like researching this and getting a cable for this, getting that adapter to make sure it works and it sounds okay. Sending you a mic.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I drove to like a random area to get a mic to send it to you.
And then I've got to send it to your next person, and then it's going to be sent to the next person.
It's a whole process. Do you know, like in 2013, would you say like the comeback of Barbering surprised you at all, or do you think it was a bit of a kind of, it was going to happen?
When I first joined the industry, like I said, it wasn't as big as what it is now. Back in, I'd say probably back in 2000 and when was it? Must have been probably about 2002, 2003, which is when I first started the barbering journey. And back then there was no Instagram. There might be Twitter. I know there was Facebook, but it wasn't as big as what it is now, And I think Instagram's helped so much with this industry. And I'd say probably back in 2013 was when Instagram started to, become such a big thing. And, that's when I started to gain a lot of my followers. And that's when you could post and you'd get thousands of likes and comments, and the algorithm wasn't as messed up as what it is now. And I suppose I didn't realize how big and how much of an influence the industry would have been today, especially with what's happening with this whole situation. You see the amount of people that are now doing live on their Instagrams, they're doing, live on their Facebooks, and
live
crazy.
Wasn't even a thing then. Live came in like years after that, wasn't it?
I know, exactly. And it's just like, gosh.
As soon as Periscope launched, Instagram launched live like 2 months later or something.
But man, just think about like this whole situation that we're going through now. Imagine this happened back in 2010 when Instagram was never here. I think we'd be all on like MySpace and Facebook still, wouldn't we?
I had barbershops on MySpace. I used to follow. I used to like have I was friends with like, I think Blind Barber and Frank's Chop Shop. There were like a couple of them, and I was like, wow. What was
your MySpace name? Was it still Nomad Barber?
No. It was like, this is way before that. The name Nomad Barber only came about a few months before I actually went traveling. I think it was just my name. It's like Miguel Ricardo.
My name on MySpace was Special K.
Like Kelbrook.
Yeah, I think I might still be active as well, but I can't remember my password.
I would. What was your song? What was your profile song? Your last one that you remember, or one of them?
I can't remember. I think probably. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, mine were all super emo. Yeah.
Well, like Slipknot and Korn.
Oh no, like more emo probably than that. Or like ironic songs, you know what I mean? Like songs from the Karate Kid. Like, oh, he's so out there. When you're a kid, I don't know, when you read the bios and stuff like that, you're like, dance like nobody's watching, that kind of thing.
Oh no, literally. Yeah, literally.
Girls still put that on like the Tinder profiles now and stuff.
It's madness.
Yeah. So what was my next question for you? So obviously I've known you for quite a while now, and I've seen you go from, behind the chair, doing the shoots, educating, and then you stop working behind the chair. So
that's correct.
Yeah. What point did you realize, maybe you didn't realize this, but like you didn't want to be behind the chair full time?
I think like, don't get me wrong, like, I enjoy cutting behind the chair, and like, I do have a few select old school clients that I still cut now. I can count the amount of people that I cut on probably one hand, actually, probably now. And I suppose when I left Tony and Guy and decided to go off by myself, which was in 2017, the whole idea and the whole vision was to concentrate more on the education. So that was doing the shows, doing the seminars, doing some stuff in the UK. But then I very, very quickly realized that I had more of a demand traveling. So, the great thing with that is that I could, freely travel wherever I needed to go to. The client would fly me out. And the great thing with that is that I didn't have the expense of having a shop, or like the expense of or the demand going to cut someone's hair. For me to kind of stop cutting all hair, it gives me the freedom to be like, oh yeah, Kev, would you like to come here next weekend, just to be up and go, so I suppose, as I started becoming an independent artist in 2017, it just kept going. Like, each month I'd go to a different country, then I'd start getting more bookings, and then there was no real need to cut behind the chair anymore, full time. Like I said, I mean, probably now once or twice a month, like, I might cut a few clients. But to be honest with you, these clients, I've been cutting their hair since when I was in Maidstone, Tony and Guy. So my longest reigning one, I think I've been cutting his hair 14 years. So they're people that I've known for a long time, and it's just a catch up. It's nothing simple. It's nothing too difficult. It's like a one back and sides, fingers depth from top. That's it. And I don't even concentrate cutting their hair. I just smash it out really quickly. So, but yeah, I mean, I suppose, that was the whole thing. It was concentrating more so on the business that I wanted to, what I wanted my business to be, which was more education. It was more the teaching side of things.
But I think you just reach the next question automatically by yourself. But I know travel is it's a massive part of your day to day, with being an educator. Obviously, people see it as it's all nice. You get to see all these places, this and that. But can you give a bit more insight into what it's actually like working as an independent educator?
So I suppose I'll give you a scenario. So if I have a client that contacts me, they turn around, they'd probably say, oh yeah, Kevin, we'd love to look, we'd love to get some education from you. And then the conversation starts from there. Then it's going to be okay, what is it that you would like? Then they'd be oh, we might want to learn about fundamentals or foundations. They might want to learn something creative. Then it's how many days would you like? Then it's how many students is there going to be involved? Is it going to be working on live models? Is it going to be working on mannequin heads? So there's a lot of things to take in consideration even before things happens. Once that's agreed, then depending on where it's going to be, as in what country, I kind of, for example, if it's in Europe now, especially because I've got a little baby boy, I more or less will fly the day before the course. And then if it's a 1-day course, I'd fly out, let's say the course is on a Sunday, I'll fly it on the Saturday evening, get there Saturday evening, go to the hotel, and then Sunday wake up, do the course, and then Sunday evening fly back home. So it's kind of like an in and out job. If I'm flying somewhere like America, then I'd fly the day before, and then I'll have a day's rest, obviously with the jet lag and all that. Then I'll start teaching the next day after that. And then depending on where it is, I might have a few days either side, just explore the city, or, just have meetings or whatever else like that. But on a day-to-day basis, I'd say depending now, I mean, it's good because now I've kind of found my flow, and I've been doing this independently for 3 years. I am a little bit more demanding. One thing I remember when I first started, I used to always say yes to everything. So I'd always used to say yes to oh yeah, Kevin, we found a good flight for you. It's at 7 a.m. in the morning, because it was the cheapest flight for them. But then that would mean that I'd have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was just I'm done with that now. So it's kind of I say to them, okay, I will look for the flights, and I'll say to them, okay, I want to fly British, because I've got my points with British Airways. I'll be okay, I want to fly with British Airways, and I want to fly at 1:30 p.m. because then at least I get a little bit of laying in the morning, get to spend time with the kid. I'll miss all the rush hour, get there, and then when I get there, wherever I need to get to, like I'm getting there sort of like around late afternoon, so it's nice. Exactly, because there's times that I've done it, 7 o'clock flight, get there at like 9 a.m., can't check until 3. It's like, what am I supposed to do? But yeah, a lot of people will see all the fun that happens, but there's a lot of time by yourself, waiting around, waiting for luggage to come through, taxis, airports, trains, and you're all by yourself, and it's difficult. And, as soon as I land in that country, and whether it's the client picking me up or it's a taxi driver picking me up, it's like as soon as I land and as soon as I'm going to where I need to get to, that's it, I'm working. And I remember people not understanding. They're like, oh, yeah, but your class is from like 9 till 5 and then you get to chill afterwards. I'm like, well, no, because the class is from 9 till 5. Then I go back to the hotel, relax. And then the client wants to take me out. And it's like, I can't just switch off. Like from when they take me out, it's like I'm still having to talk to them, whether it's talking about myself or like what I do, whether it's talking about hairdressing. And you're still working because I'm not one of these guys where I'm like, oh yeah, you take me out and I'm going to start drinking and get all drunk. And, for me, I'm like, right, I need to be professional 24/7. And it's exhausting. And, I'm not saying that I entertain the clients, but it's like, you have to have your game face on. I can't be like, oh yeah, let's take you out for dinner. And then I'll be like, oh, I can't be bothered to talk to you. I'm going to sit on my phone. I'm just going to, you know what I mean? It's like, they won't invite me again for the next time. So there's a lot to it, and it's, you need to be, I always say to people as well, you need to be mentally prepared for it because you know what it's like traveling by yourself and being by yourself. Like it's difficult and it's hard and it's
tiring too.
Yeah, it's tiring and it's not only physically tiring, it's mentally tiring as well because it's like I said, I mean, I give it my all whenever I'm doing something. And, it's the same with me doing this podcast. I know after doing this, I'm going to be tired because it's like I will give it my all in what I'm doing.
I was tired before we started. So
I was too. I was just getting nervous. You was only tired because you went out for a walk with the dog. That's why.
Exactly. What have been your favorite places to travel to so far? I know you love the US, but
yeah, I love the US. The US is great. I think probably why I like the US because it's so diverse. Doesn't matter if you go West Coast, East Coast, or like if you're in the middle. It's so diverse where you go, and it's so different. What it's. You've been there many times. It's so different West Coast to what it's like East Coast. And the great thing that I love about the US is that everyone speaks English because, again, that's another thing that people don't realize is that language can be such a massive barrier, especially if you haven't got a good translator, and especially if you haven't got a translator with you 24/7. Sometimes the client can speak a very small amount of English, and it's like. It's tiring because it's, how we speak. I don't consider myself speaking proper English. Like I abbreviate things so much. And when you travel and you go to different countries and you speak to someone that speaks very little English, then you actually realize how shit your English is, because you're having to talk so slow and you're having to break things down, explain things properly. But into regards to what's my favorite countries, I'd say, like Brazil is amazing. Like their culture's just fantastic. They're beautiful people and the food's amazing. Mexico City was amazing. Russia was really cool. Like I really enjoyed Russia. Like when I go back to Russia and I go to Moscow, I think that's really cool. And I think people, like for people that's never been to Russia before, they're like, oh, why would you go there? What's there to do in Russia? There's actually a lot to do in Russia. South Korea was amazing. Japan's amazing. I wouldn't say like I have one top country that I love to go to. Like I love all the different countries that I've gone to for different reasons. Obviously, like, Europe, certain parts of Europe's cool. Like Italy's amazing for the food. Spain's amazing.
Keep coming back to the food. The food's amazing.
Do you know what it is? I just love food. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like, and I'm not one of these people. Whenever I travel, I'm not like, oh, I'm not eating that. I don't know what that is, or like, oh, how's that being cooked? Like I'm like, fucking give me anything. Like, I'm eating everything and anything. And you know what? As well, I think when you travel, and I'm sure you get this, you actually appreciate life more, and you appreciate people, and you appreciate different cultures. Like with me, like I couldn't give a shit if you're black, white, Chinese, skinny, fat, you believe in that religion or whatever, like politics, whatever. I don't care. Like for me, it's like going to different countries. I just love meeting people and learning about people as well. I think the human species are just very interesting subject in itself.
Massively. I think that's why I started doing these little podcasts, because I find it fascinating. In fact, just documenting people in general for the channel. Do you feel like there's an oversaturation of educators in the industry at the moment?
Yes, 100%, 110%. Everyone wants to be famous. Everyone wants the limelight. And I always ask them why. Because this is an interesting thing, isn't it? It's like, why do you want to be an educator? If you ask someone that wants to be an educator, just ask them why do they want to be an educator? I think in life I've realized when you ask yourself why you want to do something, it really, really makes you think. Like, and especially with this time that we've got now, I think to myself, like, why am I wanting to work out? Why did I want to do this podcast with you? Like, and I think to myself, one, because we've been meaning to do this for a while, and I said I'd do it with you, and I'm a man of my word. Two, I actually thought this would actually be quite a good way to catch up with you and actually, spend time talking to you. And three, I just wanted to see you. No, it is oversaturated. But like I said, I think it's oversaturated because people want to be educators for the wrong reason. Like for me, I started off as a barber. I worked my way in the barber shop. I started at Sound International working alongside MK. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Started my foundations with Tony and Guy. I had to work up within the company. All the hours under the sun with them. Learning to be an art director, and that didn't happen overnight. And I had to go through such a massive process. And one person that you're going to be doing the podcast with, and the reason why I know you're doing the podcast with him is because the microphone's getting sent to him next, which obviously is Jodie Taylor. And, he went through that same process as well, becoming an art director. And I'm sure if you ask him, it didn't happen overnight, and the blood, sweat and tears and the sacrifices and the dedication that you had to do, and for me, it's like, until you work for a massive company like that, you realize what it takes to become an educator. Like it's, you learn the ins and out of everything. And that's not just about cutting hair. That's your presentation, how you interact with people, and how you adjust from teaching students to teaching people that's been doing hair for 20, 30, 40 years. But I think it's great, like in the sense that there's a lot of people that are enthusiastic, that want to be educators, and that are willing to work their way up and train and learn new things. And I think it's great. And, I'm always like, yeah, cool. If that's what you want to do it. But just ask yourself the reason why do you want to do it? Because for me as an educator, and for me standing up on stage, my number one thing is to educate the people, which is in the word of what I do. I want to give my message across, and I want to make sure that they've left that seminar learning something, rather than leaving that seminar and knowing about my life story and knowing about I've traveled to 58 million countries and I have 10 million followers on Instagram and shit like that. That's just so irrelevant to anything.
I think a lot of people do it for themselves. It's like maybe
it's
like
an ego thing,
an ego boost for themselves. It's like, it's almost like once you've completed getting some followers on Instagram, then you become an educator. Whereas there's not many people I know on Instagram, or people I know in general, who have had actual educated training.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, they've actually gone through the process of like being taught by people who actually sell education systems, which before kind of the big, reprisal of barbering, there wasn't much to do. You had your American Cruise, you had your Tony and Guy, you do your ABC Men's. What's that?
Assassins.
Yeah. I first said ACD, and I was like, "What? Is that what it's called?" But like, do you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't that much.
You went to go do your BFGs.
BFG. But like there wasn't that much. Like I always remember going and looking for education and like actually was it what year was it? I remember I inquired about becoming an American crew educator, but like in 2008 or something, and then I went off the idea. Kind of grew out of it. But there wasn't that much choice, and now there's like private education available everywhere. But no one's actually trained. It's just them showing you how they cut hair at the shop, which is fine. But
yeah, I think if you like someone's style and you like their technique and what they do, then yeah, by all means, like I think it's great. And that's when you start to realize that people actually just buy into people. Not necessarily in what their skill is as such, but they buy into people because they buy into how they are as a personality on Instagram or how they are a personality when they're on stage. And yeah, you're right. When I first started, I remember looking for education, and I remember even like YouTube and stuff, and you might see a few bits and bobs. I remember when I first started, like, I'm sure you remember this, Scorum, they had that DVD, and when they dropped that, I was like, rah, this is cool, man. Like, they done some really cool haircuts. And I've spent time with Rob and Liam, done a show with them in Japan last year, and great guys. And, they've got hairdressing backgrounds. Now, I think it was like either Sassoon or Tony and Guy or both of them, like they come from strong foundations. But the great thing that I love about them is what they do on those step-by-steps and DVDs. That's who they are as people.
Yeah.
That's the haircuts that they do. They're only selling education on the haircuts that they do on a day-to-day basis, and it's great. They're not trying to, how can I say, they're not trying to showboat on, oh, look at me, I can do this, that, and the other. It's like they legit do them type of haircuts,
I think they were definitely one of the biggest pioneers for this, the big barbering comeback. I remember all their posts going viral on Facebook, especially, and I thought it was fantastic.
I remember when they brought up the posters and they had all the circles with the haircuts popping out. I was like, oh my god, these guys are sick, and they were so raw as well. The images, there wasn't like your generic hairdressing images where it's like beautiful, and they street cast like their clients. They street cast people like from the street. It's mental.
Have you met Yella, the photographer? Yella?
No.
Yeah, so he basically, when we went over to the shop and we did the documentary, him and Rob kind of told us how they shot them photos. It's literally like, it was like a white backdrop, but I don't think it was even paper. It was like one of them cloth ones. And then Rob standing there with like a strobe flash, and he's got like a basic DSLR. And they shot them first haircuts all like that, just with one light, one backdrop, and a little camera.
Shot raw. Yeah, it's great. Sometimes less is more, right?
Well, that's it. And I think like even after like a few years when they moved into the new shop, they were still doing the same thing downstairs. It's just a basic, I think they still only use like one light, a backdrop, and it's just in the basement of the store. It's like a very basic studio, but they smash it because it's their style. It's authentic. It's the haircuts they do on a daily basis, like you say.
Yeah,
it's great. If you were gonna offer any advice for anyone who's thinking about becoming an educator, what would it be? Don't do it.
I was thinking of that, but I'm sure a lot of people would say that.
Like you said before, do it for the right reasons.
Yeah, so I'd say if I was to give any advice for anyone that wanted to become an educator, I would first say, ask yourself, why do you want to be an educator first, and do it for the right reasons. For me, I believe that I'm gifted with what I do. And I always kind of say, like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be around this industry for the rest of my life. So I need to share my knowledge and what I know. But I'd say just learn as much as you can first. Like, you need to be able to understand hair. And for me, it's like, as a barber, yeah, cool, you're going to educate on how to do a 6 skin fade. Yeah, okay, cool. Put someone that's got long hair in front of you, what are you going to do? You ain't got a clue. Or if you do have a clue on what you're going to do and make the haircut look nice, you can't explain the reason why you've done something. you know what I mean? So this is, I suppose, with me that I wanted to be all rounded first. So I understood about like cutting short hair. Then I went to London, worked alongside MK. Like I said, I learned about Afro hair, started doing the designs and the patterns. Then I wanted to learn about longer hair. So I started with Tony and Guy. Then I had to do like hair up. Then, you know what I mean? So I covered all bases of cutting hair. Once I had a strong foundation of that, then I could start to educate, because, you know, again, when you're going to different countries, like, you don't know what type of models they might bring out in front of you. You know, the client might turn around and be like, oh yeah, actually we want to learn about Afro hair, or actually we want to learn longer lengths of hair. Then if you don't know what to do and you only know how to do a 6 skin fade,
and a crop,
you're screwed. Yeah, and a crop. Good. But this is the thing, you know, again, it's like, you know, I have a lot of close friends that are educators as well. And, you know, I talk to them on a regular basis just about nothing too serious. But the thing is like with me, when I teach in a class, let's say I'm teaching a class of 10, I'm probably going to have 8 people there. No, I'm probably going to have, 8 people there that really want to learn and understand about technique. I'll probably have 1 person there that just wants to test me and see what I'm about and see if I'm any good. And then I'll probably have another person there that will actually want to just copy everything I'm doing, who's an educator, and then just copy everything I've just done when they teach their class. I remember talking to a friend and he was like, oh, fucking hell, you know, this sort of shit's happened to me. You know, I've seen, you know, do the same section patterns. And I'll say, bro, like, to be honest with you, just take that as a compliment. Like, at the end of the day, like, this is why, you know, same with me. I've got tutorials out there that will show you how I cut techniques. I don't care if people copy it, because I'm always like, you know what, at the end of the day, you can do the same techniques that I do because it's shit that's been done already, but you're never going to be me. The way how I'll deliver things, the way how I am as a person, you're never going to be me. So it's like, take all the stuff that I do, you know, copy what I say and whatever else, but you're not going to be me. So it's like, I'm not even tripping, you know, like, I've always got things up my sleeve and I've always got things that I'm working towards doing. You know that.
Do you know what made me laugh then is that when you say there's always that person in the salon who wants to test you. You do, don't you? Every time I've been at like anything to do with education, you've always got that one person who's just difficult.
Yeah.
They just because they want to be difficult.
Why are you doing that?
I do it this way.
Yeah, but I've seen someone do it that way. Oh yeah, but why don't you start from the top instead of the underneath? Well, the reason why is because I don't fucking want to. It's simple as that.
Do what I want, mate.
Do what I want. But I always say this, I'm like, you know, when people turn around and say dumb things like that, I'm always like, okay, look, let me just tell you one thing. I have something in my head which I want to create within a haircut. It doesn't matter how I start. All I'm worried about is creating the end product and making sure I get there and doing it in a way that suits me. That's it. I'm just doing me.
You just got to do you.
I'm just got to do what you got to do, ain't you? Just doing you, boo.
And tell me a little bit about your actual family background and heritage. I know you just said your parents were nurses. What is your heritage?
So my dad's from Mauritius and my mum's from Philippines, and I was brought up here in England.
Did they meet here?
Yeah, so they both met at the nursing home, the nurse's home, and when they was both psychiatric nurses. And yeah, just from that, really.
Have you got siblings?
Yeah, I've got one brother,
Yeah.
older than me. He's 2 years older than me. He lives in London as well, actually. He lives in Stratford, just down the road from me, so it's not too far. He's actually a graphic designer. And yeah, like, so he's creative as well.
Has he ever done anything for you, or not really?
He's done bits and bobs. Like, say for example, like because I've started doing a bit of graphic design myself. If I do something, I might say to him, okay, like, how would you do this? And then he might tweak things for me ever so slightly, or like send me a little video and be like, oh, hey, you need to highlight this, click this and whatever else. Because I actually like learning myself. Yeah, everything I've done myself, basically. I love learning new skills, and oh man, you know what it's like. I find you get more satisfaction when you've done everything yourself, and you then take a step back and you're like, right, okay, I remember when I couldn't do that one simple thing and I've just done it.
Yeah. It saves you money too. I mean, we've had countless conversations over the years where we're talking about, even like back in the day when we were both just started taking photos, you know, like we're talking about editing software, and then we'd look at the photos, skin retouching, like.
Oh, mate, do you know the crazy thing is like now it's like, I look at my photography back, like, let's say like 7 years when I really started getting into it. I look at my retouching now compared to what it was like back then. I hardly retouch now. And I'm so on less is more. Just capture a beautiful image, maybe a little bit cleaning up, done. Do you know what I mean? Nothing in it. I remember someone like messaged me on Instagram when I posted a photo up of like a couple of models. They're like, oh, how many lights did you use for this? Like, one. The sunlight. And it was like, oh,
where did you get that from?
Huh?
Where did you get it from?
What do you mean? Where did I get
the
what?
Light?
The sunlight. The sun. From the United States of the world. You know that one. www.worlds.com. Yeah, man. Yeah, but it's crazy. Like, you know, and that's going back to, you know, how we change as people, isn't it? You know, like your taste changes each year. Like I said, your mindset changes. Like I find me now, like I am so much more laid back now, especially leaving like the company, like Tony guy that I used to work with. Not to say like I wasn't laid back when I was with them, but now it's like things are different. Like, you know, I have pressure and I have like challenges, but it's all on me. But like I said, it's the satisfaction that you get when it's for your own brand, it's your own thing you're doing. It's crazy, man. It's like, yeah.
Stressful.
Yeah. And that as well. But it's stressful in a different way though, right?
Yeah.
It's stressful for a good way, because the thing is like when you're stressed about something, it's like you're stressed about like a situation, but then when the situation changes, like depending on what you're doing for it. But I remember like, you know, a couple of nights ago, I was getting so pissed off. I couldn't work out. I'll tell you this because you'll understand about it. I couldn't understand how to mask. So I basically wanted this text like on Premiere Pro to mask out, and I couldn't work out how to do it. And the text kept appearing and I was getting so pissed off. And then I just kind of just sat there and just looked at the screen. And then I realized that I had two masks on. And I was like, fuck, so I just deleted one and then it was fine. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Madness.
Oh, what a world we live in, eh? I'm really sorry you had to go through that by yourself.
But this is the thing, is like, you know, for me to do that, like I could have outsourced someone, paid them like 300-400 quid to edit it, or just save myself all that money and bust my balls out, like going on YouTube clips and trial and error and figuring out how to do it, and then do it myself. And I'm like, rah, I've done it.
Learn everything on YouTube.
Huh?
Well, you can learn everything on YouTube.
Mate, literally.
I learned how to like just set up all this camera kit on YouTube. One person I see who uses YouTube a lot and advocates it and then talks about it a lot on her videos is Sophie.
Yeah.
She learns everything from scratch on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, like sorry, my bad. It's true. You can learn literally everything and anything, whether you want to learn on like how to, mate, like, I don't know. Yeah, I think you did see it because you commented on it, but you saw the post of me like doing a workout and then I had an extra person come and do the workout and it was me. I basically learned that on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it was so simple. I mean, it was so simple to me because I understand how to use Premiere Pro, how to get around it. But like anything, it's like, I didn't know how to do that. Yeah. Go on YouTube, type in what you want to learn and you find it. I mean, it's like even like now with this whole situation where we're in lockdown and the gyms ain't open, I'm YouTubing home workouts using body weights. And then you'll get so many people having so many different variations. And then they're putting up like techniques and stuff that I've never seen before. And I'm like, oh, actually, that's a pretty good exercise. No, it's crazy.
Well, like the sandbags on the rake that you had on today.
Exactly right. Mate, I just clearing out the garage. I was like, oh my God, I've got sandbags like from my photography gear. I was like, geez, I've got a rake, stick them on there. I weighed each sandbag 5 kg each.
Oh, really?
I was like, great. I got a 20 kg bar there. Great, mate. Improvise.
So back to your heritage, growing up in like a mixed culture background and family background, what kind of impact do you think that's had on your life?
Food. Mate, it always goes back to food. My mum and dad always cook in the house. There's always that. If anyone goes to my house, if anyone knows me, there's always food in my mum and dad's house, and that's whether it's snacks or just food, anything I
What's
want.
predominantly eaten though? More Filipino food or Mauritian?
Yeah, more Filipino. I'm like, Mum, have you got any rice? Yep, rice is there. Rice, rice. What's for breakfast? Rice. Where's the knife and forks? Use your hands. Okay.
I remember I was with Julius somewhere. I can't remember, but he was like, "Yeah, I need rice." He was like, "I haven't had rice. I'm Asian. I've got to have rice."
It's all about rice. But no, I'd say like growing up, like rice. No, food. Food and respect, actually.
Yeah.
Like I had a good upbringing. Like I think coming from my mum and dad, like I think especially like, where they came from, not like they didn't come from poverty or like poor backgrounds, but they came from backgrounds that wasn't as materialistic at what the upbringing of people get today. And I think even though I was a little shit when I was younger and like I used to be so naughty, I used to argue and mess around with my parents and all that. I think through my upbringing and through how I am as a person, like I appreciate everything that my mum and dad done for me, like when I was younger. And I suppose it's only as I've got older that I've started to realize and understand that. And it's the love that I had from my parents in different ways. So my mum would love me in different ways compared to my dad, meaning like my mum would love me in the sense like if I'm going out like with my mates, my mum would be like, "Oh, Kevin, here's £10, go and have like fun with your friends, spend it, whatever." But my dad would be like, "Oh, when you get paid, what are you doing with your money? Like at the end of payday, like, oh, you should save it." So then my dad would teach me about like more investment skills and, life skills in that sense. But then my mum would then teach me the flip side to like go and have some fun, go and enjoy life, that sort of thing. But then, I mean, the upbringing was great. They showed me respect, always taught me about my pleases and thank yous. I think with my mum was probably the one who taught me how to basically not give a shit about people. So my mum's quite argumentative. And that's where I would get it from. So it's like if someone pisses me off, I might just say it how it is in black and white. And I get that from my mum. Is it a good trait? Is it a bad trait? Who knows? But at least she taught me how to stand up for myself. Do you know what I mean? Like rather like being a little bitch and just putting up with shit that I didn't like, whether it's right or wrong, I suppose I will just always do me.
Just gotta do you.
That's it.
So, can you actually speak any other languages?
Como estica?
What's that?
That's hello in Filipino.
Oh, is it?
Como
Yeah.
estica? Yeah. Como estica?
I thought you were saying "como está," but like say it really wrong.
Oh my God, my Lord. No, como estica. That's all I know. I can't speak any languages. Oh. I wish I was brought up bilingual.
I love how you were saying before that you don't speak proper English.
Oh man,
you sound like Chris Eubank on stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are currently backstage once again with Kevin Luchmun.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you said before, when you were talking about Matthew from HJ Men, you said Matthew Bartham. And I was like, I've always called him Matthew Badham.
I don't even know what his name is, to be honest. I don't know what anyone's name is. Can't even pronounce your surname. Miguel Gutierrez.
Well, that's it.
You're like, that's it, just a bit faster. Yeah.
So,
no, I wish I was brought up bilingual, but no, I wasn't.
No. I was going to say, so, do you have any...
Was I brought up bisexual? No, straight.
Whatever, it's 2020, bro. Do you have any morals or rules that you kind of live your life by that you would say has helped you gain success in your life?
YOLO.
Started from the bottom.
Start from the bottom. Now we're here. No, like, you know, you have a lot of people that will say things like, oh yeah, you know, live each day as it comes, you know, like take step by step. And like, I do believe that, you know, you have got to live each day as it comes, because there's so, I mean, especially what's happening in today's world, it's just the most weirdest thing. But like, it's what I've realized, it's not about changing. Okay. Because I find when you change, it's when you say to someone that you have to change, it's kind of like in my eyes, it's a bit of a negative thing. It's because like you're saying, oh, you have to change because the way how you are at present is not a good thing. So you need to change in order to make it a good thing, right? So what I kind of realized, especially with this situation, it's not about change, it's about adapting. You know, adapt to the current situation. But I suppose, what morals do I live by? Like, I mean, myself personally, it's like I live to the stage that I live as if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. Like, I will literally, if I have something in my head that I really want to do, like, I will do it. Like, I'm not, you know, I always like to say that I'm not a sayer, I'm a doer. So it's like me back last year, like this time last year, I said to myself that I want to lose weight, I want to get fit and healthy, and I want to have a good physique. Some people that I said that was going to do it, no way, it's never going to take you a year to do or under a year to do. Oh no, there's no way you can do that. You love Domino's pizza too much. You love eating out. And I've done it. You know, for me to say that I wanted to launch my new collection and do tutorials, I've done it. Like, you know, for me to say that, oh, all right, I'm going to learn how to do video, I'm going to learn how to edit, I've done it. Like,
Completed it, mate.
Completed it, you know, job done, mate, done. Just wish I got like a little blue Peter badge or something for doing it. I don't get jack shit. No, but like, you know, I'm just more of those, I suppose, you know, if you want to do something, just do it. Like, there's nothing stopping you. And I know it sounds a bit cringe, but like when people say it, but it's true. It's like the only person that's going to stop you or prevent you from doing something is yourself. That's it.
Or COVID-19.
Oh, fucking COVID-19. No, but to be fair, like even COVID-19, it's like, oh no, I can't go to the gym. I can't like eat healthy. Like, you know, gyms are all closed. It's like literally adapt, just change and adapt. I mean, I am lucky that I've got like a pull-up bar. I've got a couple of dumbbells. But to be honest with you, like I said, I've got all those sandbags. I'm looking around my room. I've got suitcases. Like, there's things that you can do to adjust to the situation. But yeah, the one person that's always going to prevent you or stop you from doing something is yourself. And it's that subconsciousness in yourself that's going to tell you that you can't do something, and you just need to actually flip it around and say, actually, I can. Like, I went for a run the other day and I was only going to run 3K. I started running, and in my head, I just said to myself, do you know what? Fuck this shit. Just carry on going. Just keep going. Do you know who I had in my head?
Forrest Gump.
No, I wish I did. I had David Goggins saying, you can do it, man. Stay hard. Do it. Let's go, champ. Just screaming that shit as I'm running. But yeah, so it's all about mind over matter as well, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of things that hold people back is past trauma and insecurities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you say, the subconscious telling them that they can't do certain things, but, you know, probably they can.
Yeah, and it's the fear of people failing, isn't it? Like, when you have something in your head that you want to do something, like, it's the feel of failing. But, you know, it's that saying, you know, get knocked down, get back up, and just carry on. You know, that's all it is. I think I've been watching Creed and Rocky too many times, you know. But it's true. Like, it's so true though. Like, you know, people ask me that question, like, oh, how did you do what you do? Just carry on doing it. Like, literally just work.
It's consistency, isn't it?
Consistency.
Just having a goal in mind. Being impulsive as well. We're quite similar in that sense, that we'll talk about something, you're like, well, I want that. Like,
mate, you know, we was talking about lighting, and then you were like, oh, you know, I got this and that in my head. I'm like, right. And then we're talking about microphones, and then I'm like, right, I'm gonna get it. Like, but yeah, I mean, my other half always says that I'm a very impulsive buyer. So like, if I want to get something, like, I will get it. Like, I will find a way to get it, or I do my research and I get it. but for the good reasons, I have so much photography equipment. Like I have so many cameras, so many lenses, lighting, bloody hell, like everything. And it's like I look at it and I'm like, I've spent tens of thousands on all this gear. But then I think to myself, but actually I've paid for it all from all the jobs that I've used it for. That I've had to not rent equipment for, And it's like
tax write-off too.
Yeah, and it's just like, what, it's all an investment, isn't it? It's stuff that I can use for myself. I think, oh bloody hell, if I didn't have these cameras, how would I be able to create the content I've created? I wouldn't, or I'd have to rent them and spend more money. So, that's what it's all about. It's investing in yourself.
Yeah. Back to what you just talking about with your fitness. What was the deciding factor where you just said, no, this is enough, I want to get fit?
I remember it was when I'd done a show in Croatia. It was in the March time. And this show was probably in front of about maybe 500 people. And back then I was like, yeah, I do want to lose a bit of weight. But the time when I was cutting on stage and they had all these big monitors like behind me, like for the audience to see, like with close-ups and all that. And it was that time that I turned around and I looked at the monitor and I was like, who the hell is that big whale? And it was me. And I used to get these direct messages from this person called the Nomad barber, and he used to always say, "You're such a fat boy. Hey, fat boy. Hey, fat boy, why are you eating all those pizzas?" And really pushed me. No, it was that time, like I said, in March when I was doing the show and I saw myself and I just thought, enough's enough. Like my son, like he's going to be born middle of May. I don't want to be a fat dad. I don't want to have to run around after him and be out of breath and stuff like that. And I just thought, you know what, I've got to change. I wasn't fit. I wasn't healthy. I was lazy. Couldn't bother to do anything. And you know what it's like. Fitness plays a massive part in yourself, like on a day-to-day basis. If you're not fit and healthy, you're fat and lazy, can't be bothered to get out of bed in the morning.
You can hear a little Theo there.
You can hear
him. I mean, the transformation is pretty phenomenal. I might try and do you mind if I put the picture over on the podcast so people can see? That's like what got like 6,000, 7,000 likes on Instagram or something.
One of them got just over 8,000.
Oh, that's crazy. Mate. How much weight did you actually lose?
Started at 97 kg, and then the end of December when I took that picture, I was probably about maybe like 66.8 kg. But I'm now I'm about 69, 70, but like I put on size and muscles. So,
yeah. Those pull-ups.
Yeah, man. All those weighted pull-ups. Nothing better else to do. Pull up, pull up, pull up.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people took inspiration from that. I think you've started a bit of a thing between barbers on Instagram getting fit. And even if, like, obviously a lot of people are already into fitness, people have started to post about it a little bit more, set themselves little challenges, which is always good. Positivity.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's like with me, it's like, the same with the whole branding and like doing my tutorials and stuff. I didn't really talk too much about my fitness before because I had a goal that I wanted to achieve. Like my head was like, right, I want to get six pack. I want to lose all that weight. And I didn't post my, lost 2 pounds or, lost 3 kg, I just wanted to be like,
boom, here it is.
Yeah, here it is. This is how fat I was and this is how fucking lean I am now. Because it was more of an impact, and I knew it would be more of an impact. And the good thing is when I put that picture up, it was when I think it was like the 21st of December or something like that, so just before Christmas. But yeah, I mean, like you're right, man. It's all about consistency. I was strict. My diet was clean for the whole 9 months of transformation. I only had 2 cheat meals, which were both pizzas.
Domino's.
Other than that, Domino's.
What's your go-to Domino's pizza?
Texas barbecue with a big pot of garlic sauce.
Garlic sauce?
Garlic sauce.
See, I've had Domino's recently for like the first time in years and years, and I always get the burger sauce on it.
Burger sauce?
Yeah, it's really good.
Try that. Try that next time.
You're like, I'll try that. Yeah, I remember looking at your Instagram and I remember seeing you posted like a story or something. And I was like, is that old? I was like, where did this jawline come from? And then obviously I saw you at Salon International. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I think you posted about it after that.
Yeah. That's the thing, is like, even at Salon International, you know, like I could have posted them, but like I was like, you know what, I need to get to the best shape I can possibly get, then post it. But you know what it's like, you know, when you're, you know, especially when you're losing weight and it's like a fitness thing, it is very difficult to hold out. But, you know, I always say, keep your eye on the prize, you know, get there.
I'll see you
when you get there.
I'll
see you at the crossroads. See you at the crossroads.
Stop sending abusive messages. Fat boy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously we've kind of gone over it a little bit. What would you say is some of the biggest hurdles you've in your life or career, kind of hurdles you've faced?
I say probably one of my biggest ones was, I don't know if you know about this actually, like, but basically back in 2017, one of the main reasons why I left Tony and Guy was actually because I was supposed to have a salon. I don't know if I told you this.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so I had like an investor involved, had like a business partner. Long story short, like he basically screwed me over, just kind of went MIA, just went silent, never heard from him. You know, I'd left Tony and Guy, left a good position, good money. And that's when I had to very quickly realize, had to very quickly change things up. And that's what I was talking about, like the whole mindset is like, you know, you literally just have to think to yourself, okay, this is what I'm going to do. How am I going to do it? And just make it happen, you know. And I know it sounds as simple to say that, but it's the consistency, it's the drive, it's being positive and making sure that you can obviously, you know, it's realistic as well. You need to make sure whatever you're going to do is going to be realistic. So that was probably one of the biggest major drawbacks. When I was with Tony and Guy, I had art directors and people when I was up and coming saying, oh yeah, you're never going to become an art director. Oh, you're not good enough to do that. And then prove them motherfuckers wrong.
Do you want to name them and shame them? I'm joking.
Nah, I'd love to. Nah, he's all right actually. He's all right now. But then I suppose another one was the whole, I suppose leaving Tony and Guy. You know, leaving Tony and Guy, it's like I had a lot of people that were very supportive in what I'd done, and like, you know, say, oh yeah, but then there's a lot of people that would not necessarily said it to me directly, but I had a lot of people was like, oh my God, he's just going to flop. Because if you look at a lot of art directors that's left Tony and Guy, it's kind of like there is some people that's become successful. You know, look at Jody, he's doing a lot of session styling, but then there's a lot of educators and art directors that leave Tony and Guy and then they leave the face of the earth and they ain't doing nothing. So that was one. But man, like I've never really had any major drawbacks, or like I'm quite a positive person. Like I don't really take things too seriously. You know, at the end of the day, shit happens.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember the salon thing happening because it was quite a big project, wasn't it? It was quite a big investment, and I remember it was going to be like big, but you took it on the chin, stepped back, adapted, and then did your own thing. And I think that's it. A lot of people would have just stopped there and then and just went back to behind the chair, but you kind of kept on with your goals and your dreams.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you know, the easiest option would have been like, I'd go Tony and Guy, get my job back. An easy option would be like, all right, fuck this, let me just go to a salon or a barbershop and start cutting behind the chair again. Or the risk, or the one where I took that jump and leap of faith, was just like, you know what, stop this, I'm just going to do it on my own. Just went for it.
Yeah. Turned out for the best.
Yeah, well, like everyone says, man, it's a blessing in disguise, right?
What do you think the positives and negatives are of social media that they've had on your life or your career or the industry in general?
Positives, I say I've met so many cool people and I've met so many friends and people. Obviously, you know, there was this guy that I looked up to called the Nomad barber that would travel and get his head like, when I was like, I really want to be a part of that. No, I suppose, you know, the great thing with social media is like how we can still, you know, be connected to people, meet people. For me, it opened up a lot of doors, not just within the industry of hair, but also within the fashion industry. You know, I got to meet a lot of fashion designers, photographers. I've worked, you know, with Men's Health magazine. I've worked with Esquire, GQ, and that's all through social media because people got to know who I was and got to see what I was doing. You know, keeping connected with people from all around the world, you know, that's a great positive thing through social media. And I'd say probably, yeah, just meeting new people and just seeing what people are doing, like inspiration, motivation. I'd say probably the negative thing with social media is the whole ego, you know, which I'm sure you would agree as well. It's like people get to, you know, it can kind of take over them. And I remember actually probably about maybe like 2016, like the whole social media thing started to get to me, like in the sense where some of my real close friends from back home, they was just like, look, don't be too big for your boots. Like, you know, you got to remember, like, you know, and even my mum, like I remember, like, you know, she used to text me. I didn't text her back. You know, I was going out partying, networking, doing social media and all that stuff. And she was just like, don't forget to text your mum. And that's what, then I was like, actually, maybe I need to, you know, because she'd see that I'm online or active and I'm out and about. And she was like, well, why are you not texting me? You know, so, you know, and that's the thing, you know, having a strong family and having friends like that around to keep me grounded, you know, that's what I need. Same with my other half, like she always keeps me grounded. Like, you know, she is, mate, she is the fucking boss, all right? The boss of my life.
Well, you were together for a while and then you had a bit of a break and then you got back together.
She we kind of seen each other, then she went traveling and then we got back together again. But yeah, man, like she's cool, man. She's my rock. I'll always ask her for advice and things like, and even though she doesn't really get the industry, like she's very open-minded and she says how it is in black and white, which is what I need sometimes.
She does hair too, as well.
Yeah, so she used to work for Tony Guy as well. She does hair, but yeah, the whole education, she don't give a shit about it. Like she cares about it, but like it's not her thing to do it.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. Like if you've got 1 million followers on Instagram and whatever else.
I wish I had 1 million followers.
Yeah, I wish too. Start getting some sponsorship.
I'm currently single from sponsorships and brands at the moment, so if anyone's out there listening.
Yeah, I'm the same as well. I'm just like to say that currently my Panasonic contract has run out, so I'm now an independent artist if anyone wants to me. I mean, I like nightclothes, so Nike's listening.
You're an indie barber, men's hairstylist. So he's not assigned to a record label at the minute. Kevin, so do you align yourself with any religions or like spiritual narratives, or are you quite atheist?
Atheist, open-minded, mate. I respect all religions, and no, so sorry, I respect all religions. I don't really believe in anything except for myself.
And your son and wife and
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but you think we're here for a reason, or we're just here, just potluck? We're just here. We're just on this floating rock in the middle of the universe, cutting hair.
Mate, I tell you what, man, life is just weird right now. Like, it makes you think about everything. You know, it makes you question everything. It makes you question, like, I always say this. I always say, like, I remember, like, thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, life ain't real. Have you seen the film Truman Show?
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, I think that's happening right now.
Yeah.
I reckon
the world's a stage.
Yeah, literally. But
it's true, though. It could be. You never know.
Yeah. Do you know what's crazy? Like, I remember, like, I was walking down the street and everyone's keeping their distance. And, you know, the people that I'd see not keeping distance, police officers. I'm like, you can't tell me that you two police officers are living together, and like I'm seeing it all the time. I'm like, how does that even work? Like, I'm so confused right now. And then I said, oh, maybe they've had tests. But then it's like the people that need to have tests, like the NHS, are like saying that they can't get tests. It's just madness, man. But yeah, I don't know. I do believe we're put in this for a reason. You know, you have these people saying, oh, you know, the most important thing in life is that dash on your gravestone and all that sort of rubbish, you know, and stuff. And it's like, yeah, okay, it is. But like, I don't know, man. Life to me is like a little game. I feel like I'm in a game all the time.
That's like what I mean, though.
Yeah, I feel like I need to level up.
There's a purpose to it, I think. Yeah. We're here for a purpose, to sell education and travel around Europe.
That's it. Yeah, literally.
What do you think got you into the photography side of things? Like, do you really enjoy doing it still?
Yeah, I love taking photos. I suppose the photography started happening when I was the Tony guy. Started doing the campaigns and the shoots, and yeah, I suppose just got fascinated. Like you said, like, you know, people would always see the end result, and when I started with Tony guy, that's when I started to realize, how do you get to the end result? You know, the process behind it. Started taking photos myself, and then just went to that. But I like all elements of photography, you know, not just fashion. You know, if I go to an amazing country or somewhere beautiful, I love taking pictures of scenic stuff. I like taking pictures of random people, you know, just nice things, you know.
Do you have an iPad? You take photos?
Selfies.
People at parties and like the uncles or granddads, and they got the iPad and they're like...
Yeah, I know, right? It's like,
they've got the case on, the case is open and stuff, and they're like, oh, yeah, stand up and get a photo, and you know it's going to be like 1 megapixel or something.
Literally. But yeah, it's, you know, especially having a kid as well, man, it's like handy, like taking photos, getting cool photos of him as he, you know, when he grows up. And when he's old, like, I think it's like, shit, man, like when you get older, like 16, I'm going to show you some little videos that I made of you, like slow frames, and yeah, it's just crazy, man. Yeah, it's nuts.
If you had to pick one aspect of what you do, whether it's I know you do educating pretty much mostly, like, say you had to cut out, educate, be a photographer, or do video full time, you can only pick one. Would it be the educating? Because I feel like you're like me, you get bored doing just one thing.
Yeah, no, I get bored all the time. I should get bored in general. It's a difficult one, because the thing is, I would pick educating if I didn't have to travel. But now, where I have a son, I don't want to travel as much as I travel. So then, if I could educate and not travel, then education. If the education would involve traveling, then I would probably then say photography. Because don't get me wrong, like, I do enjoy cutting hair, but you know what it's like. You work behind the chair, man. You're busting your balls. Like, it's a very tiring job. Not just standing on your feet all day long, but it's like the clients that you have to deal with. Don't get me wrong. You might have your good days, but then it's like when you have a bad day, you have a difficult client. It's not nice. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
What's the worst experience you've had with a client?
Oh, probably when I was a Tony guy in Maidstone. I cut someone's ear. Only one person that I've cut in my life as well. Fucking hell, it just wouldn't stop bleeding. Horrible. And
was
no
it
one
like the
helped
top?
me.
Was it like the top bit?
Yeah. Scissor over comb, but mate.
I'm always see, like, I've done that twice on two people's ears on the right ear, and now when I do scissor over comb around that side now, I'm always like super, super careful.
Yeah, I just use clippers now. Can't scissor over comb no more.
I just tape the ears down.
Yeah. I'm like, can you just hold your ear and cup it with your hand?
Have you had clients like that who...
Yeah.
See, I've had clients who just randomly, they'll just like grab their ear and like pull it down because they think you can't do it.
Yeah, what we used to do when I used to work in Tony and Guy, and we used to teach the beginners like scissor over comb, and we'd always we'd obviously analyze them to see if they was good enough, but if that was really not great, I'd always say to the model, "Can you just hold your ear down, just for safety, man?" Like, yeah.
I find it. I find it massively funny when clients do it of their own accord, though. So, what are you doing? Have you not been to a barber shop before?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Clients are funny. Clients are funny. For all you clients at home watching, clients are funny. We have a great time talking about you. No, I'm joking. We do. I'm not joking.
Literally.
Do you have any? You said you've been working on something. Is it kind of top secret at the minute?
Everything's top secret. Watch this space.
Watch this space. But do you have anything you can talk about, which is like kind of things you have planned for the future for the brand or for yourself?
Not really. I mean, obviously, like I'm going to continue traveling when this sort of calms down and I can travel. Got some, a lot of people. For instance, I was supposed to go to Chicago. I was supposed to go to Miami. Supposed to go to Italy, and a lot of these clients they've just rescheduled, and they're really understanding in the sense that they've rescheduled to when this calms down. So it's not like I've lost out, and it's all good. Health being healthy and your safety is important rather than making money, in my opinion. In regards to stuff that I've got happening in the future, like I have got a few things coming up, but that's watch this space type of thing because they're big things that I'm working on, and then it's actually quite nice being at home because I can kind of like really just focus on those sort of things as well.
And just a quick one about like education and stuff. Like, I think I asked you this the other week actually. Like, how does someone who's obviously gone so far, learned quite a lot, also educates and travels around the world, how do you stay inspired and how do you keep learning?
That's a very, very good question, and I suppose I get inspired from people. Of course, people get inspired by people, but I get inspired from the people that come to me to learn. So if I'm doing a course and, they're very enthusiastic and I get inspired, especially from the younger ones, the ones that's new to the industry because they're so eager and they're so hungry, they want to learn in it. Again, that keeps me grounded because it makes me remember like when I was younger and I'd try and go on courses or I'd go and see someone and, I get inspired from that. I get motivation from that even more. Get inspired from a lot of my friends in the industry to see what they're doing. But then I get inspired from a lot of my friends that are not in this industry. So I've got a lot of friends that are like personal trainers, videographers, like photographers, and I get inspired from their work. Because like I said, I mean, like, I'm editing videos, and I'm trying to work something out. I might message my mate and they'd be like, "Oh, it's a simple, just do this." And I'm like, "Mate, you're so sick. Like, how the hell do you, like, you're so sick at doing this." Like, it's like for something that I've done, I'm like, "Bro, like, check this out. Like, it's taken me 6 hours to do." And he's like, "Man, that looks so clean. You could have just pressed this button. It would have taken you 5 minutes." Do you know what I mean? It's like that sort of thing. But it's, yeah, man, I get inspired from my son, Theo. He inspires me every day.
How's having a son change your life? Like,
oh, massively, man. Like, he's my number one now. Like, nothing else matters except for him. Like, I just want him to be safe. I want him to learn. I want him to be happy. It gives me a lot of drive to be successful. Gives me a lot of drive to make sure as he starts to grow up that he's going to be proud of me. And, I'm not to say that my dad wasn't like that, but like, I want him to realize that, like, his dad can achieve anything that he puts his mind towards. So I'm going to be like that. And, that's what I want him to be like. I want him to, realize when he grows up, through his early days to when he gets older and becomes an adult, like, I want him to realize that, like, anything that you want to do in life, like, it's achievable.
Sick. So I think I've got everything I need to get out of you. So did you want to drop your, I mean, I'll put it in the description anyway, but do you want to just tell people your Instagram and website?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at Kevin Luchmun. That's KevinLuchmun. And my website is www.kevinluchmun.com. And I would just like to add that we're always backstage.
I was trying to work out how to throw that into the interview, but
I just threw it in.
Yeah, Kevin. If you can't find Kevin on stage, he will be
backstage. That's it.
Thanks, bro.
Nice one.